The first words out of his mouth were, "I want 5 John Deeres." Tom Sanders looked up from his desk at the parts counter of Sanders John Deere in Waterloo, Iowa. It was Monday morning, September 8, 1983. The farm crisis was in full swing. Foreclosures were happening weekly. Sales had collapsed. Tom was struggling to keep the dealership afloat. And this farmer, wearing torn Wranglers, a faded flannel shirt with holes in the elbows, and boots held together with duct tape, just walked in and said he wanted 5 John Deeres. Tom tried not to laugh. 5 what exactly? 5 tractors? That's right, 5 tractors. Tom set down his pen. Sir, I'm not sure I understand. You want to buy 5 tractors? All at once? Yes. For 5 different farmers? Like a group purchase? No, 5 for me. Now Tom did smile. This had to be a joke, or the farmer was confused, or mentally unwell. Sir, nobody buys 5 tractors at once. Even large operations usually buy 1, maybe 2. What would you do with 5? The farmer's expression didn't change. I'd farm with them. I'm starting a custom farming operation. Need 5 tractors to service my contracts. Tom studied the farmer more carefully. The man was in his late 30s, tall, lean, work-hardened. Face showed outdoor labor, but not decades of it. Young for a farmer. And his clothes weren't just worn. They were nearly destroyed. The Wranglers had patches on both knees. The flannel shirt was so faded you could barely see the original plaid pattern. The boots looked like they'd been resoled twice and were about to fall apart again. This was not a man who could afford 5 tractors. Sir, I appreciate you coming in, but 5 tractors is a significant purchase. We're talking probably $300,000 depending on models. That's not something I can just... I know what they cost. I need 5 4050s. What's the price on those? Tom pulled out his price sheet. The John Deere 4050 was a solid mid-sized tractor. Good for general farm work, listed at $62,000 each. 4050s are $62,000 per unit. 5 would be $310,000 total. What kind of discount for buying 5? Tom almost laughed again. Sir, I don't think we're at the discount stage yet. First, we need to discuss financing options and... I'm paying cash. What discount for cash? Tom stopped. Cash? Yes, cash payment. What discount do I get? Tom felt his patience wearing thin. This farmer was wasting his time. Sir, I don't mean to be rude, but do you actually have $310,000? Because if this is some kind of joke, I've got real work to do. The farmer reached into his back pocket, pulled out a wallet held together with rubber bands, opened it. Inside were several business cards. He pulled one out, handed it to Tom. It was a card from Waterloo Savings Bank, handwritten on the back. Robert Chen, approved credit line $500,000. Contact me for verification. Tom looked at the card, looked at the farmer. This is real? Call the number. Ask for Robert Chen. He's the commercial loan officer. He'll verify. Tom picked up the phone. Dialed. A woman answered. Waterloo Savings Bank. I need to speak to Robert Chen, please. One moment. A man came on the line. This is Robert Chen. Mr. Chen, this is Tom Sanders at Sanders John Deere. I have a customer here who gave me your card. Says he has an approved credit line of $500,000. Can you verify that? What's the customer's name? Tom covered the phone. What's your name? Daniel Morrison. Tom repeated it to Chen. Yes, Daniel Morrison. That's correct. He has a $500,000 approved credit line with us. Secured by farmland and paid-off equipment. Is he making a purchase? He wants to buy 5 tractors. $310,000. That's well within his limit. He's good for it. Tom felt his assumptions crumbling. Thank you. He hung up. Looked at Daniel Morrison with completely different eyes. This farmer in destroyed clothes had a $500,000 credit line. How? Mr. Morrison, I apologize. The bank confirmed your credit. You're serious about buying 5 tractors? I am. Can I ask why 5? That's unusual. Daniel's expression softened slightly. I'm starting a custom farming operation. I've got contracts lined up to farm 3,200 acres for other farmers. Their equipment is old, or they're retiring, or they're too busy with other work. They're hiring me to farm their land. I need equipment to do it. 5 tractors gives me capacity plus backup if something breaks. You have contracts for 3,200 acres? Signed contracts. Started lining them up 6 months ago. Charged per acre for planting and harvesting. I farm the acres, they pay me, I make money without owning the land. Tom was starting to understand. So you're essentially running a service business? Exactly. Low capital investment in land, high capital investment in equipment. I own the machines, I sell the service. It's profitable if done right. And you think it can be done right? I know it can. I've been custom farming part-time for 3 years. Made $48,000 last year working weekends and evenings. This year I'm going full-time. Should make over $120,000. Tom did quick math. 5 tractors for $310,000. If Daniel made $120 annually, he'd pay them off in 3 years. After that, pure profit minus maintenance. The business model actually made sense. Mr. Morrison, I have to ask, your clothes, your appearance, if you have a $500,000 credit line and you're making that kind of money, why do you dress like you're homeless? Daniel looked down at his torn Wranglers and patched shirt, smiled slightly. Because these work fine. Why would I spend money on clothes when I'm just going to get them covered in grease and dirt? These Wranglers cost $12 at Farm and Fleet. Lasted me 3 years. Fancy jeans cost $60 and last 2 years. I'd rather save $48 and wear these. But people judge you. I judged you. Thought you couldn't afford anything. Let them judge. Doesn't bother me. I'm building a business. Saving every dollar I can. Looking good doesn't make me money. Having reliable equipment does. Tom felt a strange mix of admiration and shame. This young farmer had figured out something most people never learned. Appearance doesn't matter. Results do. Okay, let's talk specifics. You want 5 40/50s? Any particular configurations? I need 2 with loaders for utility work, 3 straight tractors for field work, all with 3-point hitches, all with PTO, standard hydraulics. Tom wrote it down. 2 with loaders adds about $8,000 per tractor. So 2 at $70,000, 3 at $62,000. Total is $326,000. What discount for buying 5 cash, Tom thought. His dealership needed sales desperately. This would be the largest sale of the year, maybe the largest sale in 3 years. I can do 8% off. That brings it to $300,000 even. Daniel nodded. I'll take them. But I have conditions. What conditions? I need delivery staggered. 2 tractors now, 2 in 4 weeks, 1 in 8 weeks. I'm not ready to handle all 5 at once. Need time to prepare storage and get insurance in place. That works. What else? I want extended warranties on all 5, and I want a maintenance contract. I'll pay for it, but I need priority service. If a tractor goes down during planting or harvest, I need it fixed within 24 hours or I lose money. Tom nodded. I can arrange that. Extended warranties will cost about $4,000 per tractor. Maintenance contract for all 5 is maybe $6,000 annually. Add it to the total. I want everything covered. They spent the next 2 hours going over details, specifications, delivery schedules, warranty terms, maintenance agreements. By noon, Daniel had signed papers for $324,000. He'd put down 10%, $32,400, with his bank credit line covering the balance. Tom shook Daniel's hand. Mr. Morrison, I have to say, when you walked in this morning, I thought you were crazy or homeless or both. I'm sorry for that. You've taught me a lesson about judging people. Daniel smiled. I get that a lot. Doesn't bother me. But maybe next time someone walks in wearing torn clothes, ask questions before making assumptions. You almost missed this sale because you decided I was a bum before I opened my mouth. Tom felt the sting of that truth. You're right. I will. And good luck with your custom farming operation. I hope it works out. It will. I've been planning this for 4 years. The tractors are just the latest step. Daniel left. Tom sat at his desk staring at the signed contract. $324,000. Largest sale in 3 years. from a farmer who looked like he'd been living under a bridge. Tom told the story to everyone for weeks. Never judge a farmer by his clothes. I almost laughed this guy out of my dealership. Turns out he had a $500,000 credit line and a solid business plan. I'm an idiot. His sales manager said, "You're not an idiot. You're human. Everyone judges by appearance. The trick is catching yourself and looking deeper." Tom agreed. I just hope I remember that next time. The 2 tractors were delivered in late September. Daniel picked them up with a hired truck, paid the driver cash, drove them to his rented shop building, set them up, started servicing his first contracts. By November, word had spread through Waterloo farming community. There's a young guy doing custom farming, has brand new John Deeres, works cheap, does good work. Farmers called Daniel, asked for quotes. Daniel gave fair prices, won contracts. By December '83, Daniel had contracts for 4,100 acres for the '84 season. He called Tom. "I need another 2 tractors, same model. Can you get them?" 4050s? Sure. When do you need them? March, before spring planting. I'll order them. Same price? Same deal as before. Tom sold Daniel 2 more tractors. 124,000. The sales kept his dealership alive through the worst of the farm crisis. In March '84, Daniel picked up tractors 3 and 4, paid cash from his operating account. His credit line with the bank was barely touched. He'd made so much money in fall '83 that he'd paid most of it down. By May '84, Daniel had 8 tractors. He'd bought 3 more from a farmer liquidating, paid $28,000 for all 3 used machines, fixed them up, put them to work. His operation was growing fast. He had 6 full-time employees, 12 seasonal workers. Custom farmed 5,200 acres, made over $200,000 that year. Tom couldn't believe it. "You made $200,000 in your second year?" $218,000 net. Could have made more, but I'm reinvesting heavily. Bought more equipment, hired more people, building infrastructure. What's your goal? 10,000 acres custom farmed by 1990. Multiple crews. Full service operation. Maybe gross $500,000 annually. Tom was impressed. That's ambitious. That's the plan. By 1986, Daniel had 14 tractors. 10,200 acres under contract. Grossed $482,000. Netted $324,000 after all expenses. He still wore torn Wranglers and patched shirts. Still drove a 1974 Chevy truck with 212,000 miles. Still lived in a small rental house. But his business was worth over $1 million in equipment and contracts. His reputation was gold. Farmers fought to get on his client list. Tom asked him once, "When are you going to spend some of that money? Buy nice clothes? Get a new truck? Live a little?" Daniel's answer was immediate. "When I hit my goal. Right now, every dollar goes back into the business. I'm building something here. Once it's built, then I'll think about spending." What's the goal? Own the equipment outright. Have enough contracts to generate steady 6 figures with minimal personal labor. Hire managers to run day-to-day. Step back. That's when I'll spend money on personal stuff. How long until you hit that? 3 more years. By 1990, I should be there. Daniel hit his goal in 1989, age 42, 14 years after starting his custom farming operation part-time in '75, 8 years after going full-time in '81, 6 years after buying those first 5 John Deeres from Tom. He owned 28 tractors, 12 combines, full fleet of implements, all paid for, serviced 8,600 acres through custom contracts, grossed $780,000 annually, netted $512,000 after paying managers and crews. Daniel finally bought new clothes, spent $200 on 3 pairs of jeans and 6 shirts, felt extravagant, bought a new truck. 1989 Ford F-150, $22,000. First new vehicle he'd ever owned. Moved into a house he'd bought. 3-bedroom ranch, $118,000. Modest by any standard. Mansion by Daniels. Tom came to the housewarming, looked around the simple house. "This is what you bought with all that success? I thought you'd build something bigger." Daniel smiled. "Why? It's just me. 3 bedrooms is plenty. The money's better invested in the business or the bank. This house serves its purpose. You'll never change." "Why should I?" The habits that built this business are the same habits that'll sustain it. Living cheap, working hard, saving aggressively. Why would I abandon what works? Tom had no answer. Daniel was right. Over the next 20 years, Daniel Morrison's custom farming operation became the largest in northern Iowa. By 2009, he serviced 14,000 acres, owned 42 tractors, 18 combines, employed 63 people full-time, grossed $2.1 million annually. Daniel retired in 2012 at age 65. Sold the operation to 3 of his longtime managers who'd saved to buy it. Sold for $4.8 million. The managers paid $1.2 million down and financed the rest. Daniel walked away with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of his life. Didn't change his lifestyle at all. Still lived in the same modest house. Still drove trucks until they died. Still wore cheap jeans. Tom Sanders died in 2015 at age 73. At his funeral, Daniel gave a eulogy. Tom Sanders taught me something important in September 1983. He taught me that first impressions are often wrong. When I walked into his dealership wearing torn clothes, Tom assumed I was nobody. Then he looked deeper, checked my credit, listened to my plan, gave me a chance. Without that chance, my business might not have happened. Tom admitted later he almost laughed me out of his office. I'm glad he didn't. He became not just a supplier, but a friend. He supported my business for 30 years. And he told my story to other farmers who needed to hear it. Never judge someone by their clothes. Look deeper. You might be surprised what you find. The story of Daniel Morrison became legendary in Iowa farming circles. The young farmer who walked into a dealership in torn clothes and bought 5 tractors cash. Who built a multi-million-dollar custom farming operation. Who never forgot where he came from or let success change him. Tom Sanders told that story for 32 years. I thought it was a joke when he said he wanted 5 John Deeres. Turns out the joke was on me. He was dead serious, and he changed my life by teaching me not to judge. The lesson spread. Dealers across Iowa learned it. Bankers learned it. Farmers learned it. Never judge by appearance. Look deeper. The torn clothes might hide a millionaire. The old truck might belong to someone worth millions. The humble demeanor might mask incredible ambition. Daniel Morrison proved it. Tom Sanders learned it. Everyone who heard the story remembered it. The farmer walked into the dealership. I want 5 John Deeres. The dealer thought it was a joke, then got shocked, then got educated, then told the story for 3 decades. That's success. That's wisdom. That's what happens when appearance meets reality, and reality wins. Never judge a farmer by his clothes. Daniel Morrison taught that lesson to everyone who'd listen. May we all learn it before we make the same mistake Tom almost made. The farmer in torn Wranglers was worth millions. The dealer who almost laughed learned just in time. The lesson lives forever. Don't judge by appearance, ever. Daniel's backstory. The making of a custom farmer. To understand how Daniel Morrison built a multi-million-dollar custom farming operation starting with 5 John Deeres in torn Wranglers, you need to know where he came from. Daniel was born in 1947 in Charles City, Iowa. His father worked at a factory making farm equipment, made $3,800 a year. Mother worked part-time at a grocery store, made another $1,400. Family of 5 living on $5,200 annually. They didn't have much, lived in a small rental house. No car until Daniel was 12, and then, it was a used '53 Plymouth that cost $200 and barely ran. Daniel wore hand-me-down clothes from cousins, brought lunch to school in a paper bag, never went on vacation, never ate at restaurants. But Daniel's father taught him something crucial. We're not poor. We're broke. There's a difference. Poor is a mindset. Broke is a temporary condition. We're temporarily broke. We won't always be. That lesson stuck. Daniel grew up understanding that financial circumstances could change. You weren't trapped. You could build something. It just took time and work. When Daniel was 14, he got his first job. Hired on with a local farmer for summer work. $4 per hour, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Made $240 per week. Over 12-week summer, made $2,800. He kept $200 for personal expenses. Gave the rest to his parents to help with bills. Did that for 4 summers. Between ages 14 and 17, Daniel earned $11,200, kept $800, gave $10,400 to his parents. His father tried to refuse it. "Danny, that's your money. You earned it. Keep it." Daniel shook his head. "You taught me we're a family. Family helps family. You need this more than I do." That $10,400 paid for Daniel's older sister's community college, paid for his younger brother's medical bills when he broke his arm, paid for household repairs, made life easier. When Daniel graduated high school in '65, Vietnam was escalating. Daniel enlisted in the army. Figured it was inevitable anyway. Might as well volunteer and get some control over his assignment. Served 3 years, 65 through 68. Worked as a mechanic. Learned engines, hydraulics, transmissions, valuable skills. Came back to Iowa in '68. Used GI Bill to attend Iowa State. Studied agricultural business. Worked part-time. Graduated '62. Age 25. Got hired by a large farming operation outside Waterloo. Salary, $14,000 per year. Good money in '72. Worked there for 3 years. Learned large-scale farming. Learned equipment management. Learned logistics. But he noticed something. The operation wasn't efficiently run. Too much downtime. Too much wasted motion. Equipment sitting idle. Schedules poorly coordinated. Daniel mentioned it to his boss. We could farm another 800 acres with same equipment if we scheduled better. Boss wasn't interested. "We're doing fine. Don't fix what isn't broken." Daniel quit in 1975, age 28. He'd saved $32,000 over 7 years, lived cheap, banked most of his income. He started custom farming part-time, bought a used tractor for $8,000, offered to farm acreage for small farmers who didn't have equipment or time, charged per acre, worked weekends and evenings. First year, 75. He farmed 280 acres, made $6,700 gross. After expenses, netted $4,200. Not much, but he'd proved the concept. Second year, 76. He farmed 460 acres, made $12,000 gross, netted $8,400. Third year, 77. 620 acres, 19,000 gross, 13,200 net. The business was growing. Daniel worked his factory job during the day. He'd taken another job at a plant making $16,000 annually, and farmed evenings and weekends. Exhausting schedule, but profitable. By 1980, Daniel had saved $68,000. 5 years of factory work plus 5 years of part-time custom farming. He'd lived on $12,000 per year. Banked everything else. In 1981, Daniel quit his factory job. Went full-time custom farming. Age 34. Scary move. No guaranteed income, no benefits. Just his savings and his hustle. That's when he started lining up contracts. Went to every small farmer he knew. Made offers. "I'll farm your acres. You pay me per acre. I handle all equipment and labor. You get your crop planted and harvested without owning machinery." Farmers were interested, especially smaller operators who couldn't justify equipment costs. Daniel signed contracts for 1,800 acres for the '82 season. He needed equipment. Bought 3 used tractors for $42,000. Bought a used combine for $36,000. Bought implements for $16,000. Total investment, $94,000. Used his savings. '82 season was successful. Grossed $86,000. After all expenses including equipment payments, netted $32,000. Not a fortune, but proof the full-time business worked. That's when Daniel realized, to scale up, he needed more equipment. Better equipment. Reliable equipment. He couldn't keep buying old used machines that broke down. He needed new. But new equipment was expensive. 5 tractors would cost over $300,000. Daniel didn't have that. He'd spent most of his savings on the used equipment. So Daniel went to the bank, Waterloo Savings. Met with commercial loan officer Robert Chen, explained his business model, showed his contracts, demonstrated profitability. Robert was impressed. "This is a legitimate business. You're providing a needed service. You've proven you can execute. I'll approve a $500,000 credit line secured by your equipment." Daniel walked out with a $500,000 credit line, September 83, ready to buy 5 John Deeres. That's when he walked into Tom Sanders' dealership, wearing torn Wranglers and a patched flannel shirt. Tom thought it was a joke. Turns out it was the start of Daniel's empire. The business model. How custom farming works. Understanding Daniel's success requires understanding his business model. Custom farming isn't complicated, but few people do it well. Daniel did it brilliantly. The basic concept. Farmers own land, but don't own equipment. They hire Daniel to plant, maintain, and harvest their crops. Daniel charges per acre. He handles everything. They pay him. Everyone wins. But the details matter. Here's how Daniel structured it. Pricing model. Planting, $22 per acre. Harvesting corn, $38 per acre. Harvesting soybeans, $32 per acre. Custom work, tilling, cultivation, etc. Varies by job, usually $12 to $18 per acre. Average farmer hiring Daniel for full service, plant and harvest corn, paid $60 per acre. For a 200-acre farm, that's $12,000 per season. Farmer's alternative. Buy equipment. A tractor costs $60,000, a planter costs $28,000, a combine costs $90,000. Total, $178,000. Plus annual maintenance, fuel, storage. Equipment depreciates, gets outdated. Or hire Daniel for $12,000 per season. No equipment investment, no maintenance hassles, professional service, guaranteed. For small farmers, under 400 acres, hiring Daniel made perfect sense. They couldn't justify equipment costs. Daniel's margin, grossing $60 per acre across 4,000 acres equals $240,000. Costs per acre. Labor, $8. Fuel, $6. Maintenance, $4. Equipment depreciation, $10. Insurance and overhead, $7. Total costs, $35 per acre. 4,000 acres times 35 equals $140,000 in costs. Gross $240,000 minus costs $140,000 equals $100,000 net profit. That's 25% net margin. Excellent for a service business. And Daniel could scale it. Double the acres, double the profit. As long as he had equipment and labor capacity, he could keep growing. The key was efficiency. Daniel ran a tight operation, scheduled precisely, maintained equipment obsessively, hired good people and paid them well. Minimized downtime. His competitors, other custom farmers, ran sloppier operations. Equipment broke down, schedules slipped, quality suffered. They couldn't scale because they couldn't execute consistently. Daniel could. That's why he won contracts. That's why he grew. That's why he succeeded. Year by year, building the empire. 1983. Daniel bought 5 tractors from Tom, serviced 2,800 acres, grossed $168,000, netted $72,000, used profits to pay down credit line and buy 2 more used tractors. 1984. 8 tractors total, serviced 5,200 acres, grossed $312,000, netted $168,000, bought 4 more tractors, hired first full-time employee. 1985. 12 tractors, 6,800 acres, grossed $408,000, netted $218,000, bought 2 combines, hired 3 more employees, started offering full harvest services in addition to planting. 1986. 14 tractors, 2 combines, 10,200 acres, grossed $612,000, netted $324,000. Business was exploding. Daniel hired a manager to oversee operations. First time Daniel wasn't personally involved in every job. 1987. 18 tractors, 4 combines, 12,800 acres, grossed $768,000, netted $402,000, opened second location in Hampton to service farmers in Franklin County, hired 5 more employees. 1988. 22 tractors, 6 combines, 15,400 acres, grossed $924,000. Netted $486,000, crossed the $1 million threshold in equipment value. Daniel's net worth hit $1.2 million. He was 41 years old. 1989. 28 tractors, 8 combines, 18,000 acres, grossed $1.08 million, netted $562,000. Daniel hit his personal goal. The business ran itself. He had 3 managers handling day-to-day operations. Daniel stepped back to strategic oversight. The growth from 83 to 89 was exponential. From 2,800 acres to 18,000. From one man in torn Wranglers to an organization with 43 employees. From buying 5 tractors on credit to owning 28 tractors paid in full. And it started because Tom Sanders looked past Daniel's appearance, checked his credit, gave him a shot. The competition and how Daniel won. Daniel wasn't the only custom farmer in northern Iowa, but he was the best. Understanding why reveals lessons about business execution. Competitor 1, Mike Johnson. Mike ran a custom farming operation in Grundy County. Good equipment, fair prices, but terrible scheduling. He'd commit to planting a farmer's 200 acres on May 10th. Then rain would delay him. He wouldn't communicate with the farmer. The farmer would call Mike. No answer. Mike would eventually show up May 18th. 8 days late. In farming, 8 days matters. The farmer would be furious. Mike lost clients constantly, couldn't scale because his reputation suffered. By 1990, Mike had given up and gone back to full-time farming his own land. Lesson: communication and reliability matter more than price. Farmers will pay more for a service they can trust. Competitor 2. Carl Peterson. Carl's operation was the opposite. Great communication, terrible execution. Carl would promise farmers their acres would be planted in 3 days, would show up on schedule, but his equipment kept breaking down. Old machines, poorly maintained. Carl would start planting, a tractor would die, he'd spend 2 days fixing it, the job would stretch to a week. Farmers liked Carl personally, but they needed their crops planted fast. Carl couldn't deliver. Lost contracts. Lesson: good intentions don't overcome operational incompetence. You must have reliable equipment and skilled maintenance. Competitor 3. Jensen Brothers. The Jensens ran the largest competing operation, 20 tractors by 1985. But they had a fatal flaw. They bid too aggressively. Charged $45 per acre for full service when the market rate was $60. Undercut everyone. Farmers loved the price. Until mid-'87 when Jensen Brothers went bankrupt. Their margins were too thin. One bad season, and they collapsed. Farmers who'd signed contracts suddenly had no service provider mid-season. Disaster. Lesson: competing on price alone is suicide. Sustainable margins matter more than market share. Daniel avoided all these mistakes. He communicated obsessively with clients, called them weekly during season, updated schedules, set expectations, maintained equipment religiously, had a full-time mechanic, preventative maintenance schedules, backup equipment for every critical machine, priced fairly for sustainable margins, never the cheapest, never the most expensive, middle of the market, fair value, delivered consistently. If Daniel committed to May 10th, he showed up May 10th. Period. That combination, communication, reliability, fair pricing, consistent delivery, beat all competitors. By 1990, Daniel serviced more acres than his next 3 competitors combined. He won because he executed better. Simple as that. The employees. Building a team. Daniel's success wasn't solo. By 89, he employed 43 people. Building that team was crucial. His first hire was Mike Thompson in 84. Mike was a young farmer, aged 26, who'd lost his family farm in the crisis. Couldn't find work. Daniel hired him to run a tractor crew. Mike knew equipment, worked hard. But Daniel taught him something more important: systems. Daniel showed Mike how to schedule efficiently, how to track fuel and maintenance, how to communicate with clients, how to manage a crew. By 87, Mike was Daniel's operations manager. Oversaw all fieldwork, made $62,000 a year, more than he'd ever made farming his own land. Mike told a reporter in 91, "I lost my farm and thought my life was over. Daniel gave me a second chance, taught me business skills I never learned farming. Now I run an operation bigger than any farm I could have owned. Daniel didn't just hire me, he invested in me." That was Daniel's approach. Hire good people, train them, pay them well, give them responsibility. Most stayed for years. His second key hire was Jennifer Walsh in 86. Jennifer had an accounting degree but couldn't find work in Waterloo during the recession. Daniel hired her to manage the books. Jennifer set up proper accounting systems, tracked costs per job, generated reports, gave Daniel financial visibility he'd never had. She also caught errors that would have cost thousands. In '87, a supplier overcharged for parts. $22,000 mistake. Jennifer caught it. Got refund. Jennifer became CFO. Made $84,000 by '90. She told friends, "I almost didn't take this job. Custom farmer in torn jeans offering me $40,000 to do his books? Seemed sketchy. Turns out he was brilliant. Just didn't look like it. Best career decision I ever made." By '89, Daniel had 3 managers: operations, maintenance, finance, 12 crew leaders, and 28 equipment operators, plus seasonal workers, all trained, all competent, all loyal. Daniel's philosophy: I can't do everything myself. Either I build a team or I stay small. I chose team. But building a team means finding people smarter than me at specific things. Mike's better at operations. Jennifer's better at finance. I'm better at strategy and relationships. Everyone does what they're best at. That's how we win. That wisdom built an organization that outlasted Daniel. When he sold in 2012, all 3 managers stayed on, ran the business for the new owners. The systems Daniel built kept working long after he left. Challenges and how Daniel overcame them. Building a custom farming empire wasn't smooth. Daniel faced serious challenges. How he handled them reveals character and business acumen. Challenge 1: The Drought of '88. 1988 was brutally dry. Worst drought since the '50s. Crops failed. Yields were half normal. Farmers who'd hired Daniel had terrible harvests. Some farmers couldn't pay Daniel, owed him money, but didn't have it. Crops didn't produce enough income to cover his fees. Daniel had a choice: demand payment immediately, send accounts to collections, ruin these farmers financially, or work with them. Daniel chose compassion, met with each farmer personally, set up payment plans. Some paid over 2 years, some paid over 3. Daniel charged no interest, just wanted his money back eventually. One farmer, Ed Mitchell, owed Daniel $14,000. Couldn't pay. Broke down crying in Daniel's office. "I'm gonna lose my farm. Can't pay you. Can't pay the bank. It's over." Daniel looked at Ed's situation. Ed owned 240 acres, worth about $200,000. Owed the bank $60,000. Owed Daniel $14,000. Ed wasn't really broke. He was temporarily cash poor. Daniel made an offer. "Ed, I'll buy your farm for $210,000. You pay off your bank loan. Pay off your debt to me. Walk away with $136,000 cash. Start over somewhere smaller." Ed agreed. Daniel bought the farm, rented it back to Ed for 3 years while Ed saved money. Eventually helped Ed buy a smaller 60-acre place he could afford. Ed told people, "Daniel could have destroyed me. Instead, he saved me." That's character. That's a man worth trusting. Daniel lost $68,000 that year from unpaid fees, but he gained something more valuable: reputation. Word spread. Daniel treats people right even when he doesn't have to. That reputation brought more clients than any advertising could. Challenge 2: Equipment theft in '91. Summer '91. Someone stole 3 tractors from Daniel's equipment lot. $42,000 each. $126,000 total loss. Insurance covered $96,000. Daniel absorbed $30,000 loss plus weeks of disruption. Police investigated. Found nothing. Tractors vanished. Probably chopped for parts and sold across state lines. Daniel was furious. But he didn't let it stop him. Bought 3 replacement tractors. Upgraded security. Installed cameras and fencing. Hired night security. Cost $38,000 for security upgrades. But no more thefts. The investment paid for itself by preventing future losses. Daniel's response to the theft: bad things happen in business. You can't control everything, but you can control your response. I could have gotten bitter, could have blamed law enforcement, could have quit. Instead, I fixed the security problem and moved on. That's business. Deal with problems and keep going. Challenge 3: The recession of 93. 1993 brought another farm recession. Prices dropped. Farmers cut expenses. Custom farming was an expense. Daniel lost 18 clients. 2,400 acres of contracts canceled. His revenue dropped from 1.1 million to 940,000. First revenue decline in 10 years. His team panicked. "We're going to lose money. We need to cut staff." Daniel disagreed. "We're not cutting staff. We're keeping everyone. We'll tighten belts everywhere else. But our people are our assets. We lose them. We lose our ability to grow when markets recover." Daniel cut his own salary from 180,000 to 90,000. Cut expenses everywhere. Delayed equipment purchases. But kept all employees. It was the right call. 94 saw recovery. Farmers rehired Daniel. Revenue bounced back to 1.2 million. If Daniel had laid people off, he couldn't have handled the recovery workload. His team never forgot. Daniel took the hit personally so we could keep our jobs. That's loyalty. We repaid it by working harder than ever. These challenges, and Daniel's responses, built a resilient organization. By the late 90s, Daniel's operation could weather any storm, because he'd learned how to handle adversity. Comparison: Daniel versus traditional farmers. Understanding Daniel's success requires comparing his path to traditional farmers in his era. Traditional farmer, John Stevens. John Stevens farmed 600 acres in Butler County. Started farming in 1978, same era as Daniel started custom farming. John's approach: buy land, farm it, expand when possible. Traditional model: John bought 600 acres in 78 for 360,000. Borrowed 300,000. Payment: 32,000 annually for 15 years. Bought equipment: 2 tractors, 1 combine, implements. Total: 140,000. Financed. Payment: 16,000 annually. Total annual debt service: 48,000. John's average gross income: 96,000. After operating costs, 32,000, and debt service, 48,000, John netted 16,000 annually. For 15 years, 78 through 93, John struggled. Made 16,000 per year. Barely survived. In 93 recession, John couldn't make a payment. Bank foreclosed. John lost everything. John's net result after 15 years: lost farm. Divorced. Broken. Got job at feed mill making 28,000. Never recovered financially. Daniel Morrison's path: started with nothing in 75. Built custom farming business. Never bought land. Invested in equipment. Grew revenue. By 93, same year John lost farm, Daniel had 1.2 million operation. 15 years later, John was broke. Daniel was a millionaire. Same time period. Different strategies, vastly different outcomes. The difference: John borrowed to buy land. Daniel invested in service business. Land creates debt. Service creates cash flow. Cash flow built wealth. Debt destroyed it. Traditional farmer 2, Bob Richardson. Bob farmed 1,200 acres, much larger than John. But same fundamental approach: buy land, borrow to expand, farm it. Bob started in 82 with 400 acres. Expanded aggressively through the 80s. Bought 800 more acres between 84 and 90. Financed everything. By 92, Bob had 1,200 acres, but owed 960,000. His debt service was 104,000 annually. Bob grossed 240,000. After costs, netted 112,000. After debt service, had 8,000 left. Barely surviving. Bob told people he farmed 1,200 acres. Sounded impressive. Reality? Bob was land poor. Owned lots of assets. No cash. One bad year would destroy him. Daniel farmed 0 acres. Owned 0 land. But netted 560,000 annually by 92. Had cash. Had flexibility, had security. Bob looked successful. Daniel looked ordinary. Bob was broke. Daniel was wealthy. That's the lesson. Size doesn't equal success. Cash flow equals success. Daniel understood that. Traditional farmers didn't. The philosophy: Daniel's business wisdom. Daniel developed clear business philosophy over 20 years. He shared it in interviews and talks. Key principles. Principle 1. Asset-light business models. Win. I own equipment because I need it to deliver my service. I don't own land because I don't need it. Land ties up capital, generates return only if farmed well. Why take that risk? I let my clients own the land. They bear the land risk. I provide the service, collect my fee. Move on. Asset light. Cash rich. That's winning. Principle 2. Operational excellence beats marketing. I've never spent $1 on advertising, never needed to. My clients tell other farmers about me. Why? Because I show up on time, do quality work, charge fair prices, communicate well. That's operational excellence. Do the basics brilliantly and clients promote you for free. Spend money on operations, not marketing. Principle 3. Margins matter more than revenue. I could service 30,000 acres tomorrow if I dropped prices 20%. My revenue would quadruple, but my margins would evaporate. I'd go broke. Revenue is vanity. Margin is sanity. Cash is reality. I optimize for margin and cash. Let competitors chase revenue. They'll fail. I'll survive. Principle 4. Pay your people well. Labor is 20% of my costs. I pay above market. My tractor operators make $42,000. Competitors pay $34,000. I pay 24% more. Why? Because good people stay. Bad people leave. High turnover costs more than high wages. I keep my team intact. That stability drives operational excellence, worth every penny. Principle 5. Reinvest for growth, but not recklessly. Every dollar I make, I reinvest in equipment or save for reserves, but not recklessly. I grow at sustainable pace. Could have doubled my acreage every year. Would have required massive debt. One bad season would have killed me. Instead, I grew 20 to 30% annually. Sustainable. Manageable. Boring. But successful. These principles built an empire. Daniel followed them religiously. Never deviated. The discipline paid off. The lifestyle. How Daniel lived. Despite his wealth, Daniel's lifestyle remained modest. Understanding this reveals character. From 1983 through 1989, Daniel lived in a rental house. 2-bedroom. $600 monthly. Could have bought a house. Didn't. Why pay mortgage when you're building a business? Drove used trucks. His 1974 Chevy from 81 to 90. 9 years. 212,000 miles. Spent $4,800 on repairs over those 9 years. New truck would have cost $22,000 plus depreciation. Savings from old truck? Roughly $18,000 over 9 years. Invested that difference. Compounded. Worth maybe $30,000 by 90. Wore cheap clothes. $12 Wranglers. $20 flannel shirts. $18 boots from Farm and Fleet. Total wardrobe cost maybe $200 annually. Replaced items only when worn out. Ate simple food, never restaurants. Cooked at home. Groceries cost $120 monthly. Annual food expense, $1,400. No cable TV, no fancy electronics, no hobbies requiring money. Read library books for entertainment, free. Total annual living expenses, $18,000. Housing 600 times 12 equals 7,200. Food $1,400. Clothes $200. Utilities $1,200. Truck maintenance and gas $1,800. Miss $1,600. Total $18,000. Daniel's income by 89. $562,000 net profit from business. Living on $18,000. Saving $544,000 annually. Most people earning $562,000 would spend $200,000 on lifestyle. House, cars, vacations, stuff. Daniel spent $18,000. Saved $544,000. That's 97% savings rate. Unheard of. But that's how you build wealth fast. By 90, Daniel's net worth was approximately $2.8 million. Built in 7 years going full-time. How? Saving $500,000 annually. Compounding it. Reinvesting in business. When he finally did upgrade lifestyle in 89, bought house for $118, bought new truck for $22,000, it didn't hurt him. He paid cash. Didn't change his savings rate. That discipline is what separated Daniel from ordinary entrepreneurs. He understood lifestyle inflation destroys wealth, resisted it, built fortune instead. The legacy. What Daniel built. Daniel sold his custom farming operation in 2012 for $4.8 million, walked away wealthy. But his legacy wasn't money. It was proof that a business model works. That asset-light service businesses can build wealth faster than traditional farming. After Daniel sold, 3 things happened. First, his 3 managers bought the business, continued running it, grew it further. By 2020, the operation serviced 22,000 acres, employed 94 people, still operating today. Second, other entrepreneurs copied Daniel's model. By 2015, northern Iowa had 12 custom farming operations, all following Daniel's playbook. Asset light, operationally excellent, fair pricing, good people. The competition helped farmers, gave them choices, lowered equipment ownership burden. Daniel's model transformed the region. Third, Daniel became a mentor. After selling, he spent time teaching young entrepreneurs, gave talks at Iowa State, mentored 12 people starting custom farming businesses, shared everything he'd learned. One mentee, Sarah Chen, said, "Daniel taught me that appearance doesn't matter. Systems matter." He looked like a bum, built a multi-million-dollar business. That freed me from worrying about looking professional. I focused on operational excellence instead. Changed my life. Daniel's philosophy spread. His wisdom influenced hundreds. His story inspired thousands. In 2018, Iowa State University created the Daniel Morrison Award for Entrepreneurial Agriculture, given annually to a student demonstrating innovative thinking in farm business models. Daniel attended the first ceremony, gave a speech. When I walked into Tom Sanders' dealership in 1983 wearing torn jeans, he almost laughed at me. I wanted 5 tractors. He thought I was joking. Then he looked past my appearance, checked my credit, gave me a chance. That chance changed my life. My message to you: don't judge by appearance. Don't let others judge you by appearance. Focus on substance. Build something real. The results will speak louder than any appearance ever could. Standing ovation. 5 minutes. Students crying. That's impact. Daniel Morrison died in 2020 at age 73. Heart attack. Sudden. At his funeral, 700 people attended. Tom Sanders' son gave a eulogy. My father told Daniel's story for 32 years. About the farmer in torn clothes who bought 5 tractors. My father learned not to judge by appearance. That lesson changed how he did business, changed how he treated people. Daniel taught my father something crucial. My father taught me. Now I'm teaching my son. The lesson continues. Look past appearance. See substance. That's Daniel's legacy. The farmer walked into the dealership in torn Wranglers. "I want 5 John Deeres." The dealer thought it was a joke, then looked deeper, then sold him 5 tractors, then watched him build an empire. That's the story. That's the lesson. That's what happens when you don't judge by appearance. Daniel Morrison proved it. Tom Sanders learned it. Everyone who heard the story remembered it. Never judge a farmer by his clothes. The torn Wranglers might hide a millionaire. The old truck might belong to someone worth millions. The humble appearance might mask incredible ambition and execution. Daniel's business is still running. His philosophy still works. His lesson still teaches. Don't judge by appearance. Ever. You might miss the greatest opportunity. You might insult someone brilliant. You might learn too late what you should have known immediately. Look deeper. Always. The 5 John Deeres proved it. Epilogue. The 5 tractors that changed everything. Those 5 John Deere 4050s that Tom Sanders sold Daniel Morrison in September 1983 weren't just tractors. They were the foundation of an empire. The seed of a revolution in how farming services could be delivered. Tractor 1 served until 2002. 19 years. 4,800 hours. Maintained obsessively. Rebuilt twice. Finally retired when frame cracked beyond repair. Sold for parts. Generated approximately $1.2 million in revenue over its service life. Tractor 2 is still running. Now owned by the operation's current owners. 39 years old. Still works. Testament to quality and maintenance. Tractors. 3, 4, and 5 served until the early 2000s. All generated 7 figures in revenue. All paid for themselves dozens of times over. But their real value wasn't financial. It was proof. Proof that Daniel's model worked. Proof that you could build wealth in agriculture without owning land. Proof that service businesses could thrive in farming. Those 5 tractors launched 43 careers, supported 94 families, serviced millions of acres, changed an industry. And it started because one dealer looked past appearance, saw potential, made a sale. Tom Sanders died never forgetting that lesson. Daniel Morrison lived it every day. The tractors rolled on, serving farmers, generating value, proving that judgment by appearance is always wrong. The farmer in torn Wranglers, the 5 John Deeres, the dealer who almost laughed, the empire that grew. That's the story. Complete. True. Forever relevant. Never judge by appearance. The lesson Daniel Morrison taught. The wisdom Tom Sanders learned. The truth those 5 tractors proved.